Cheers, y'all.
Well.
That sounds like a party.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to this fine radio program, podcast, and video extravaganza known internationally
Hi, Mom.
as the world-famous Smokin' and Toastin'. We are here for show number 272, which puts us
Just past halfway to 300.
to 300. Yeah, that's pretty exciting. Our program is all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars, and we have a good one for you today. We welcome back to the program from Fox and Seeker Spirit Company and Distilling Company, Mr. Sean Anger. Sean, welcome.
Thanks for having me.
It is
Good to
really
be
nice
here.
to have you back, and I have to say, ordinarily, we are a little suspect of people that we are introduced to by Chris Morris. I mean, it's just kind of the way it is. We've learned this over time, but no, you were a great guest, and so we're thrilled to have you back on the show.
Appreciate it.
And I'm sure you understand about Chris.
Well, I am going to do my best to make cocktails as well as Chris did.
Oh, well,
but I am not a cocktail maker.
He really is, like, all kidding aside, he really is a master of the cocktail. That man really knows what he's doing.
Pretty fantastic.
And
at that.
he's he has been able to spread that great stuff around the city because he winds up having to get a new job about every 3 or 4 months, and so he's been all over the place, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So just messing with you, Chris. But it's nice to have Sean back. Now, when we had you on the show before, we had set up with Chris that we wanted to do a martini challenge, and this is where Ian gets on his high horse about gin being the only thing for martinis, and I say,
I think we learned in that
vodka
whole
martinis are
episode
good,
that when you do it with vodka, it's not actually a martini.
is that,
There's a different name for it.
I know you love to point that out.
Okay, I was
But
just saying.
vodka martinis are good. I make vodka martinis all the time. I love vodka martinis.
Do you notice people who like vodka martinis always say vodka martinis, and people who like martinis just say martini?
Yeah, well,
there is a trend.
I endure this. But no, Sean came on with both vodka and gin, and we were able to use the Fox and Seeker spirits to make our martinis and do the challenge. So, you know what I remember actually that I liked most about that show? It was nice meeting Sean and all, but those little stuffed olives that Chris Morris
those
brought-
were amazing.
Oh my God! I actually took
that
like
he hand stuffed.
Yeah, I actually took like 5 or 6 of them home that were left over, and I rationed myself to like only one a day because they were so good. I wanted them to last. So
I do not have any olives today.
that's all right. We'll be
We'll
okay.
survive.
But you are going to make some cocktails, aren't
I
you?
will,
Okay,
yes.
cool. And
Yeah.
we have a couple of different expressions of gin here. Is that right?
That's correct. It is the same base gin. One of them is rested in a barrel.
Oh, okay. So there's it's so interesting to me how creative people are getting with barrel aging and barrel resting of everything from beers to every different kind of spirits. I mean, honestly, and I don't know as much about gin as I do about some other spirits, but this hasn't always been a trend with gin, has it?
No, and you got to be careful because gin already has a lot of flavor.
Yeah.
Boy, no kidding.
So
yeah.
when you add more flavor on top of flavor, it can
Sometimes
quickly
it goes
come
sideways.
out of whack.
Yeah. I
Yes.
totally get that. Well, I'm really curious to be able to taste that and looking forward to that on the program today. We're also going to be doing some beer tasting, which is kind of what we do. I don't know what to think of this first one, Ian, from Islla Street Brewing in San Antonio. We're going to be trying their Rojo, which of course means red in Spanish. It is a Berliner Weiss brewed with red soda. And when I think of red soda, I think of like Big Red. That's what we have here in
That's got to
Texas.
be what they're going
Yeah,
for.
and Big Red is huge in San
Because
Antonio.
Big Red is red soda,
Right.
Like if it was red and it was some other kind of soda, it'd be like strawberry soda. Remember,
Right.
like the
Yeah.
What was they had? There was that strawberry soda. There was a couple other grape sodas that
Yes,
were
there's
like
been Knee-High and
Yeah.
Fanta.
Fanta. Yeah, that's the one I was thinking of.
So yeah, those have had berry flavored sodas, but
when you
red
just say
soda,
red,
yeah,
I'm
it's
pretty
a
sure that's
distinctive
Big Red.
thing. Yeah,
That's-
because Big Red is not strawberry.
Nope, it's bubblegum, isn't it?
Yeah, I think I don't know what it is.
It's like
But-
I'm
bubblegum
very
flavor or
curious to try
something.
this.
So
Yeah.
so I'm really curious because I've never really been a Big Red fan. So I'll be real interested to see a Berliner Weiss brewed with red soda. what exactly that's going to be like. But hey,
I'm going to be texting a picture of this to a buddy of mine that loves Big Red.
okay, well, good.
See what he
It's,
says.
it's called Rojo. I was able to buy it here in Houston, but the brewery's out of San Antonio, Texas, and we've not had any beers from Islla. It's Islla, Islla Street Brewing. So excited about that. Now, we had a beer from this next brewery, actually was maybe just like a month ago. And I chose that one just because of the name of the brewery, which is Belching Beaver Brewery.
Oh, yeah.
But today's beer is, we have one from Belching Beaver, and I chose it because of the name of the actual beer and what the can looks like, which I'll show you.
Fluffy Nuts?
No, but it's interesting. It's apparently done in conjunction with the Deftones. The band, the Deftones.
Huh?
It's Deftones Phantom Bride IPA. So you got A, Belching Beaver, B, Deftones, and C, it's got this really funky Day of the Dead looking skull on the front of it. So I was in, and it's an IPA. That's why I was in. So it's a pretty interesting looking can. We'll see what it tastes like. Belching Beaver is out of Oceanside, California. And then just because today seemed like a good day for beers that were odd or from odd breweries, we'll do something from Clown Shoes today. Clown Shoes Brewing out of Boston, Massachusetts. We'll do their Flight to Bolivia is the name of the beer. It is an old ale aged in Whistlepig rye Ex-Bordeaux barrels.
Oh.
Wow.
So that sounds like a mouthful.
Yes.
And we'll see if it is. So
I bet it is.
Looking forward to that. So it should be an interesting beer day. I hope they're good. It'll be an interesting beer day for sure. A lot of other stuff on the program. Drinking news, of course, our very popular segment. Our drinking news teaser headline for today.
Oh, sorry. I was busy.
Our teaser headline for today, you've heard this before, but it is Hold My Beer and Watch This. Yeah,
Hold my beer and watch this. I love that.
That can go anywhere.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. That would be just a good name for a website. You just put up the website and have people send photos of times when they've maybe said that or could have said it, depending on what they were doing. It's kind of like watching one of those fails videos on YouTube. You know, those are always interesting. And there's always at least one skateboarder. Have you noticed that? On any one of those fails videos, at least one skateboarder and something involving a steel railing and his nuts. Every time.
You have to have that.
Yeah, it's a requirement, apparently.
So it occurred to me that my buddy that really loves Big Red sent me this link a while back. Is this?
No. That's interesting.
And this is from San Antonio.
Is that actual Big Red?
This was in 2020. Let's see. Big Red flavored beer is coming to San Antonio thanks to one local brewery. The brewery says it's the most quintessentially Texas beer San Antonio didn't know they had.
Well, that's interesting because it could be that the beer we're going to try today was maybe
a response
this is it.
To that. Call it. This was it. They call it Big Rojo beer. I wonder if they had to drop the big.
Oh, maybe Big Red had a.
I bet. So this is probably the first iteration of it because this was.
Can you tell if that's from Islla Brewing, the one?
No, it is. It is. It's from the same brewery and everything.
So I'm wondering then if this is the rebranded version after Big Red said, "Hey, copyright infringement."
Oh yeah. See, I'm assuming they had to drop the big and the kind of soda-looking can.
Yep.
Yeah,
I see.
That looks awfully like Big Red.
Because this says Isla Street Brewing released the new Big Rojo beer. This was in 2020. So this must be the newest iteration where they had to
change a little.
Had to change. I'll just keep that over here and we'll open that shortly.
You do that. So we'll talk cigars. I've got some interesting new cigars for you to watch for. And damn, that Vladimir Putin. I mean, not only first of all, he's like invading a peaceful country and like making up all kinds of reasons why he's invading it that aren't actually true. And then secondly, we can apparently expect craft beer prices to rise because of Russia's invasion of Ukraine.
How does that?
All right, sanctions. Biden, are you listening? More sanctions. We got to hit these boys hard where it hurts. And that's terrible. It's terrible what he's doing. And I don't mean to equate a rise in beer prices with the horrible stuff that they're doing to the Ukrainian people, but still, this is now hitting really close to home. You know what I'm saying? Do I seem shallow for saying
I
that?
don't. How does war affect our beer prices?
We'll get to that in the explanation later on in the program.
Confused. I'm hurt and confused.
There is a craft brewer in the Ukraine that has joined the war effort. We'll tell you what he's doing to help the Ukrainian people. And we'll also talk about 5 craft beer trends to watch for in 2022. We'll talk cigars. Speaking of cigars, Ian, do you have an opportunity to smoke anything interesting this week?
Boy, did I.
Oh, boy, this sounds good.
I went by.
Did you have a Gurkha that exploded on you? Was that what happened?
the exploding Gurkha. That's more fact than fiction.
Yeah.
Sorry, Gurkha. They're getting a little better, apparently.
Yeah, well, let me just say, my last Gurkha that I smoked and talked about on the show was fantastic. I was very pleased.
So I went by Casa this morning and picked out a few cigars. Actually, I picked up a couple really nice ones. But one of the ones I picked up, and they had it on their special release kind of table that they have there, and it had limit. You could only buy 2. It was the Arturo Fuente Hemingway short story Maduro.
Oh, this is new, isn't it?
No, this is first released.
They didn't just come out with the Maduro
in
just
2011 or 2012.
Okay.
However, I think it's a limited release every year.
Okay, that makes sense.
So you got to get in and get you some like ASAP.
Well, the regular Hemingway is just a fantastic
They're outstanding.
cigar.
If you are into the mild to medium cigar and you are wondering, man, do I like cigars? Do I want to continue smoking cigars in my life? Pick up a Hemingway short story and try that, because that will totally make you a fan of cigars.
So this is the Maduro version.
This is the Maduro version of this.
Exciting.
And again, it's just a limited release that they do, I think, every year. It's a mini Perfecto. This is a 4-inch cigar. It's not very big. If you look at the picture I took with it in my hand, you will see that my hand is apparently 4 inches.
Well, you know what they say, 4-inch hands.
Yeah, 4-inch gloves, right?
Yeah, exactly. That's what they say.
So the wrapper is a Connecticut broadleaf Maduro, binder and filler, both from Dominican Republic. And the filler is apparently the Hemingway blend, the same one they use in the other one, but you get the different
you get a Maduro wrapper, so that's
and
what
binder.
changes.
Yep. The appearance on this, it is perfectly adorable.
They know how to roll cigars at Fuente.
It is a gorgeous little cigar. The short story is a mini Perfecto. Means it's pointed at one end. It comes down to a little tapered tip that you light just the tiniest little bit. You don't even have to learn how to light a cigar to light this thing.
Nipple at the end.
Right. You just light this tiny little bit at the end, and it burns perfectly. It's like magic.
Yeah, I was gonna.
The other end
I'm
has.
gonna guess that your tasting notes are going to include the phrase "perfect burn." Because Fuentes, they do.
Yeah, they're great.
They burn great.
They're great. So and keep in mind, this is a Hemingway thing. So I have to acknowledge that it's a Hemingway cigar, right?
Yeah, you have to wax poetic.
I did.
Okay.
We'll get to that. So the appearance, perfectly adorable, immaculate construction on this thing. It's a gorgeous little cigar. It's absolutely fantastic. Classic Gran Reserva label from Arturo Fuente. It's intensely dark oily wrapper with some veins in it, oily and leathery to the touch, firm overall. So just so you know, a Perfecto is somewhat the shape of a baseball bat with the little reservoir tip on the end that you light. You clip the little end. That's what I did. I used a clip on mine. The pre-light sniff on this, earth, rich coffee, chocolate, and barnyard. This smells as good as a cigar can smell almost. You know, like I don't know of any other cigars that just smell better than this.
Bella Artes Maduro from AJ is pretty awesome.
It's kind of like that. It's just that so good smell, you know? If I could just smell like this cigar at all times,
yeah,
it would be.
I love it. I love it.
I would start to love myself. I'm sorry, what were we talking about? Okay, that was beautifully awkward.
It really was. I loved it. It was great.
The pre-light draw on this, I used a clip. It had a medium draw, to be expected with the Perfecto shape because you don't have a fully open end.
Right.
So what happens is you get a little bit of a tight draw at the very beginning of this, and it opens up within like a couple puffs because then it lights, the larger portion of the cigar. So that's pretty normal, and it did do that. Sweet, creamy cocoa, coffee, rich earth, dried fruit is what I got on the pre-light draw notes. The initial light enormous, rich smoke came out of this. I mean,
Nice.
like, it puffs huge.
Even when it's still only burning a small
Just
part of
yeah,
the
I mean, it
cigar.
just immediately had huge smoke. It was
awesome.
wonderful. Coffee and cedar dominate the initial light, backed by cocoa powder and sweet nuttiness with a pinch of pepper. The retrohale was cedar, campfire, and leather.
Sweet.
The first third of the cigar, which I will now refer to as Chapter 1, it's a Hemingway,
I'm loving this.
right? Smoke rings. That's the name of this chapter. Fountains of fluffy, flavorful fog frothing forth from this fine Fuente Figurado. Earthy chocolate and creamy coffee entangle the palate. Light, unidentifiable spices lurking in the background create an engaging experience. Retrohale is cedar and nutty with a touch of pepper. Solid ash, great burn.
Can I just mention this is your greatest cigar review ever?
I was say it's
Ever.
fitting for one named Hemingway.
Ever.
Very poetic.
Yes.
Yeah, it's very good.
I'm so
I
impressed.
had to add a little something to it. It's a Hemingway.
So impressed.
The second third, otherwise known as Chapter 2. Spicy characters thread throughout the storyline without distracting from the overall plot. Leather and chocolate and coffee, cedar and copious amounts of smoke all take the stage to create an enlivened experience. The retrohale is cocoa, coffee, and nutty. Solid ash, great burn. The look you guys are giving me is wonderful.
I love
I'm
it.
just wondering if the third has a great burn or not.
The last third of this Chapter 3, of course. Coffee and dried fruit dance throughout with cocoa, sweet cream, cedar, and leather in a beautiful balance, none upstaging the other. The end of this short story is warm, cedary, and sweet. One of the biggest reasons the end of this is warm is because I have big fingers and it's a tiny cigar and it was really
And it's
kind of
really
warming up
close
my
to your
fingers.
fingers, yes.
So that's actually a literal reference, not a literary reference,
Got it. I
okay?
understand.
So just so you know. The retrohale is cedar and cocoa with a little bit of a mineral flavor to the retrohale on the end of it. Solid ash, perfect burn. You can see this in all the pictures. The burn is wonderful. The price on this cigar, $6.50.
Really, that's not bad. I know it's a small cigar.
It's a
but
small
still,
cigar.
That's not bad.
It is one of the best constructed cigars you will find. It is $6.50. I give it an 8.
Wow, is that the highest non
It's
cheap cigar?
If it's
rating
not,
you've ever
it's
given?
one of them. It's this is a $6.50 cigar. It burns as a 4-inch cigar. It burned for 45 to 50 minutes.
Wow. Well,
I mean, so it burns great.
well, you guys know by now if you've been with the show how the price to quality scale works. If it's a 5, that means you got what you pay for. So if it's an 8, it's like holy cow.
It's that kind of good.
Wow.
It is really good. And
What would you pay for this cigar?
for this, if I paid $10 for this cigar, I probably wouldn't have bat an eye. Like after smoking it, I wouldn't bat an eye. I mean, it's fantastic. It's really, and even though it's small, it did smoke for. I think I had it for almost 50 minutes. You know.
Well, I just have to
Before
say,
I let go of it, it's definitely a medium strength cigar. And so if you're a guy who likes mild to medium and you want to go into a medium flavor, this is not a peppery medium. This is a big, fluffy, wonderful, rich medium. So this is definitely where you go if you want to step into that next flavor profile without getting like a big peppery kind of tongue bite or any of those kind of things.
well, I have to say that was an amazing review, your best ever.
Thank you.
Quite frankly, I can't follow that. So that's our show. Have a great week,
See you
everyone.
later. Goodbye.
Sean, thanks for coming
Yeah,
in.
it was great.
I mean,
How do
sometimes
you follow? I just burned the guitar. That's what I did.
sometimes you just have to quit while you're ahead, right? Yeah. So I will tell you what I smoked, but let me just lower your expectations right now. This bar is going way, way down here in terms of the review. I smoked something. I don't think I've smoked anything from this line before for the show and talked about it. I smoked a JR Ultimate 50th Anniversary Toro.
Oh.
Now, JR, as you guys know, is JR Cigars, one
Right.
of the biggest online cigar companies in the world, them and Cigars International and Holtz. And I was on the JR website not too long ago, just looking around because it's like cigar porn,
Oh, yeah.
And I love looking around at stuff. And I found an AJ Fernandez sampler that was very reasonably priced and had, had some, different ones that he'd done for different companies. And this was in it, so I got a sampler, and it was that's how I got a JR Ultimate. I didn't actually go on and buy it specifically. It came in the sampler. So I've already kind of blown this next line, but I was going to say that the Ultimate 50th Anniversary was blended by a little-known cigar maker that you've probably not heard me mention before, some guy named A.J. Fernandez.
Of course.
Yeah,
right.
so I really am a fanboy. It's true. So,
Yes.
so I was actually very interested to smoke this because I've had most of the cigars in AJ's line. I've had most of the cigars that he's done for, Monte Cristo and Romeo and Julieta and some of the other major company things that he's done. So, but I had not had this, so I was very excited to smoke it. Cigar was a little bit rustic, some visible veins, but it was nice and oily and very delicious looking. The JR Ultimate 50th Anniversary, there's been a long line apparently of JR Ultimates, but once they release a new one, that becomes it. In other words, they don't keep the older ones around. It's like, okay, here's the new. It's like a seasonal beer. Here's the new Ultimate. Right?
That's like the Delirium Tremens or like the Christmas ale from
exactly like from Anchor Steam.
Anchor, right?
Yeah, Anchor. Yeah, I always want to put Steam in their name.
Because that's like their beer.
That's their
right?
beer, yeah. Anyway, this cigar has an Ecuadorian Sumatra Oscuro wrapper, a San Andres binder, and a mix of Honduran and Nicaraguan filler tobacco.
I love that cigar already.
Yeah. Pre-light was all grass and hay with a little bit of leather mixed in, but very much a grassy, almost barnyard. You think, you know what it smells like? After someone cuts their lawn and it just has that freshly cut lawn. Yeah, it had a little bit of that to it, which I thought, it's a very pleasant note, but it's not necessarily what you expect from a cigar. But that's what I got, a little bit of that and a little bit of leather. I used a punch and I lit that baby up, and it gave me a nice rush of early spice, but it was not at all a Nicaraguan.
No, you gotta stop doing that.
I'm gonna keep doing that until you come up with that.
I just haven't had time to get in there and
gotta do
record
it, man.
anything yet.
Because my Bee Gees impression is terrible, and it's not getting any better. No, I didn't get the Nicaraguan pepper blast. I did get a kind of a rush of spices, though, but it was more. I was a little more like mixed, like it wasn't just pepper, like so many of the Nicaraguan cigars do on that blast. It was more subdued, but even that settled down as the cigar started to even out, and I got notes of coffee, leather, and a muted, kind of pleasant vegetal sort of a note along with it. For all of the veininess of the cigar, because it had some bumpy veins on it, it really had great construction and a perfect burn, as you like to say. Coffee was really the predominant note in this. And sometimes when you think of coffee notes in a cigar, you think of that sort of deep Brazilian coffee bean. This was a little different. This was like a cup of black coffee, just and not necessarily. And I'm not saying this in a bad way, but it's like somebody made at the coffee maker at work and poured you a cup. It's that kind of black coffee. Just a very straightforward, tastes
no
like
frills coffee.
No frills note. Yeah, but I enjoyed it. It was good. It was the predominant note. By the second, third, it had kind of settled into a groove that was giving off that black coffee cup note along with a bit of earth and some black cherry, which was kind of an interesting note to come in there. The Ultimate 50th gave off a pretty generous amount of creamy smoke, which I really liked, and it smoked for well over an hour. It was a very slow smoking, just enjoy the experience kind of cigar. Final third was much like the second, coffee, maybe even espresso. Maybe it was an espresso note that I was getting from that. It's been a while since I've had an espresso, so I need to order one after dinner at some point when I'm out at a restaurant, just so I can relive that taste again, so I can
think
know
about coffee flavor, but on a fist that just punches you.
Right. This was kind. I don't know. It was.
That's
It was
espresso,
It leaves you feeling a little bitter.
maybe a little bit like that in the final
You're on a roll
third.
today.
There was also dark earth and leather. The
Leather?
retro hail was where I picked up that dark cherry flavor that I mentioned. It was very interesting and very, very good. Medium to full cigar, consistent flavor throughout. The Ultimate 50th is a $10 cigar. I mentioned I got it in a sampler, so I had to go look up what it costs just to buy one. If you buy a box of 10, it's right at $100, so it's a $10 cigar. It was really quite good, although I will say, just from my palate, I think I like some of AJ's other blends a little bit better than this particular one. But again, that's my palate. There was nothing wrong with the cigar at all. There was no flavor or taste I didn't like. It burned beautifully. And I would say that with all that said, it totally hits the mark at the $10 price, so I will recommend it. Again, a bit of a different flavor profile from some of AJ's other smokes, but that can be good. So for me, a nice change up, thumbs up, and a solid 5 price to quality.
Nice.
Yeah, you won't be disappointed. If you pay $10 for this cigar, you won't be disappointed. That said, I don't know if I can put it over like the Bella Artes Maduro from AJ or the Dias de Gloria. Those cigars are just such a... Although that's in my sweet spot. So,
Right.
so it makes it kind of hard to compare in some ways, you know? Take that away from my experience, and I would tell you, this thing is great. So... that's just my thoughts, but try it if you're ordering some cigars online. It's not a bad thing.
The thing about that is the two outside the Bella Artes and the Dias de Gloria. Those cigars are exceptional.
They really are,
for especially bang for the buck. So those are exceptional ones. It's hard to use that as a standard because that's a pretty tall stick.
Well, that's what gets when we're doing these cigar notes. It's what gets some of these $8, because those are generally around $8. It's what gets some of these $8 cigars in trouble. They may be pretty good, but it's like they're not nearly as good as that. So how can I give it, that high of a rating, even though there was nothing wrong with the cigar? It just didn't have that interesting and complex.
I think in my mind, I tend to compare a lot of them to like the My Father and the
right,
and
see those hold up. And
those hold up as well, and those are right in that price point. Or some of the Olivas, like those are.
And you had not long ago you talked about a San Cristobal. I find those to be incredibly consistent. Little pricier, but very, very good, very consistent. So anyway, enjoy it, try it. It's definitely worth it, especially if you're getting one in a sampler pack. That's what made it really interesting.
So not being a cigar smoker, a black coffee cigar sounds phenomenal to me.
Yeah.
But elementary question, what does Maduro mean?
Maduro is a darker leaf that has been fermented. So when you look at two cigars side by side, one's like a lighter brown and one's a darker brown or even leaning towards a black color, that would most likely be a Maduro. And a lot of people think Maduros are stronger, which is not always the case.
True.
Maduro tobacco, because of the fermentation process, actually gives it a little bit of a sweetness, not a sugary sweetness, just a sort of a I don't know, like a fruit sweetness maybe. How would you describe?
It's definitely a sweetness. It's a tobacco sweetness. It's kind of,
and it's really good. Ian and I both are fans of Maduros.
Yeah, I generally reach for Maduro cigars. Now, you will also, lending to that myth, you will also see Maduro wrappers on a lot of stronger cigars.
Right.
But that, again, one doesn't necessarily equate.
Yeah.
One doesn't necessarily equate to the other, because I've had plenty of cigars with lighter wrappers that are pretty brutal in the strength category.
And I've had a Maduro Macanudo that was very mild.
I would actually say that the Serie R is a stronger cigar than the Serie R Maduro, actually.
I agree with that, yeah.
And even though I think the only difference in those cigars is the wrapper.
Yeah, I believe that's right. All right, we got to take a break and come back and start doing some tasting, because we're going to taste the gin neat, I understand, and then we're going to do cocktails.
We're going to play with some cocktails.
I'm very excited about this. We'll be back at Smokin' and Toastin', show number 272, and we'll also tell you why you can blame Putin for rising beer prices when we come back.
Thanks, Putin.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. It is Smokin' and Toastin', the program that's all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. We are coming to you from the studio today. Sean Anger from Fox and Seeker is our special guest. And, a couple things are happening. Well, first of all, inflation, prices are going up on almost everything. Unfortunately, prices are going up on beer. And it's not just because of inflation. I'll get to that in a moment. But I just wanted to mention, have you noticed how some of the vodka companies now are going out of their way to make sure that their vodka is not made in Russia?
Oh, I haven't even seen that.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. They're like, we're made in Ohio, or we're made in Austin, or really none of my none of my favorite vodkas, I think, are Russian to begin with. So you guys make vodka right in Houston, Texas. So no Russia involved, right?
No Russia involved. Okay. Grown in Texas, harvested in Texas, made in Texas.
All right. Well, thanks to the Russia's invasion of Ukraine, not only are people boycotting Russian vodka, according to a report, but the conflict may have an impact on beer drinkers as well. Apparently, barley, which obviously is one of the key ingredients used in making beer, is heavily produced in Ukraine. So everything is disrupted right now because of the fact that they're like shelling them nonstop. So that region is often referred to as the breadbasket of Europe because there's so much of the grains, including barley, out of Europe are grown there. So the president of the Beer Institute spoke recently about the situation. He says Ukraine accounts for about 20% of the barley used in beer.
Wow.
So that could mean that there'll be a bit of a barley shortage for the time being.
So this isn't gonna affect macro brews and their rice.
Oh no, and the furniture polish that they use, that's still available. So there's no problem there. No problem there with that. So it's unclear, they say, exactly what impact it'll have on the price of beer. Molson Coors, for example, has repeatedly been able to absorb the higher costs while keeping the price the same for their consumers. But some smaller brewers, they say, will have to make adjustments. So St. Paul Fish Company Brewing in Wisconsin said that it's maybe gone up about 50 cents a glass in terms of his cost of making beer. So, that's...
everything's already up because of
that's true.
Corn and wheat, for us, for example, went up 30% last year.
And, talking spirits, even before all of this stuff, we've seen the price of whiskey, of tequila, and of rum steadily climbing. I don't know so much about vodka. Have vodka prices in general gone up in the past couple of years? And gin?
Yeah, vodka's kind of, since the pandemic, it's been kind of in an upheaval. In general, no, it's relatively flat. 'Cause a lot of the vodka comes out of Indiana that's on the shelves, and from massive companies that,
they can absorb that.
Their ship can absorb a lot more waves.
Sure, makes sense.
But for guys like us, where we're buying for every batch, we feel that cost in real time.
Because it's your raw materials that are costing you more and maybe even tougher to get.
And you don't have places to store it, even if you did buy bigger, giant batches and those kind of things.
Right. Oh, yeah. And there's all kinds,
So how long has Fox and Seeker been open? How long have you been distilling?
Oh, just over a year now.
Just over a year. That's so cool.
We moved in. We moved into our space in April 2020. Perfect timing.
Wow.
And we got set up and running by October, pandemic year, and then by the end of 2020, we actually opened our doors for the first time. So a little over a year.
I love your packaging, but what I really like the most is the way you describe the Meridian Gin. It says light and floral, painstakingly hand distilled in Texas. I like painstakingly. That really creates the the mental image of the fact that you're taking this very seriously.
And you mentioned it earlier. You are grain to glass in Texas.
100%.
100%. This is not a GMP product or any of those things. This
is the bottle.
This is made right here.
Where did the name Fox and Seeker come from?
So
I don't remember if I asked you that when you were here before or not.
Yeah, what the name represents is fox being tied to nature and tradition, understanding where our ingredients come from and all that stuff. And the Seeker is essentially using the status quo as our start line and always thinking of new ways to do things. I can go into many examples of how we're doing that. But the most obvious is we're making vodka from scratch, which is not the intuitive path in this industry, but it brings a lot of flavor. It's also the base of our gins, which creates a nice round base to build a gin on.
So what would have been the shortcut?
We can source our neutral from the upper Midwest. There's a couple big companies that supply 95% of the...
And then you would take that and distill it? Is that how
we would add botanicals and distill it one time.
For those of you out there who don't understand the industry as much, sourcing the neutral in his terms are you can source a neutral grain spirit. So they'll just show up with big truckloads of this
basically like
alcohol.
Raw spirit. Right?
Yeah, I could call them today, and by Wednesday I have a 300-gallon tote of...
Yeah, that you then flavor yourself and then put in a bottle and
call it your
and say,
spirit.
hey, this is a Texas Spirit, like some people do.
But when it's grained to glass, that's not what you're doing at all.
But this is different. You're literally making this from
we're taking
the raw materials.
grain and fermenting it just like a beer. We call it a distiller's beer. It's just unhopped. And then once we ferment and create the alcohol, then we cook it off. That's
just out of curiosity, how did you learn the process? did you work at a distillery?
No.
in his
not at
secret
all.
laboratory.
One of our very first guests on the show, way back when we started, we asked him this question. He said, "Yeah, I went on YouTube." Like,
Yeah,
and
there's a
he's
lot of
making
stuff
rum.
on YouTube.
He's
Yeah.
making rum, and he
yeah,
went
that
to-
was
went on YouTube.
Ian Mook actually.
Yes, from
Grateful Dead. Yeah,
Grateful Dead. Yes.
Yeah, there's so much on YouTube. Some of it, you got to watch out.
I'm sure. That's true of anything on YouTube, by the way.
Yeah, for us, it was home brewing beer and turned into a slippery slope. That's really
Interesting.
Yeah,
That's so cool. That's so cool. So how long is the process from once you've gathered the raw materials to filling the bottle?
Yeah, when the grain hits the dock, it's a week and a half, and I can have it at 95% minimum for vodka off the equipment. So that'll take a week and a half just to get, we call it the distillate or the end product. It's a very concentrated ethanol. It's almost pure ethanol at that point. And then it's just adding water to bring it down to bottle proof. That process takes 3 to 5 weeks.
And what about gin?
For gin, it's you make the vodka, distill one more time, so week and a half to 2 weeks to get it off the equipment. Then it's 3 to 4 weeks to proof it down.
And at what point does the vodka technically become gin? Is there a threshold that it crosses of a certain thing?
Yeah, so gin is really just well, it doesn't have to be vodka, but in our case, it's a vodka distilled in the presence of juniper and other botanicals. So
Okay.
we
So-
make the vodka first. That's what we call our canvas or our base.
Right.
And then we add botanicals, and then we run it through the still one more time. The oils from the botanicals are light enough.
that's
they
what
come over.
infuses it. To,
If I was to taste that before you do that distillation and add the juniper, would it taste like a bottle of your vodka, or is
Yes,
it different?
100%.
So it would taste. So basically, what you get when you buy a bottle of Fox and Secret vodka, that is then the base material
Correct.
for creating the gin. That's fascinating.
that's pretty awesome.
yeah,
Yeah,
it
and
really is.
And when you taste them side by side, you can actually, once you taste the vodka, because our vodka has a ton of character to it, we don't filter it or add any
It
sweeteners.
really does have a lot of character. You're right.
You can pick it out in the gins after
Interesting.
when you taste it side by side.
Right.
It's a pretty neat experience.
That sounds like a challenge. Ian. Are you up
Challenge
for it?
accept- I
Yes.
got vodka in the backpack, so
Okay,
we can do that.
Yes.
Let's try some of this gin. Now, is this the same
Too late.
as
I've
what,
been doing this.
as what we tried when you were here before that you made the martinis with? Or
It
is this
is.
different? Okay.
We slightly tweaked the botanical makeup since that show.
It's a little softer.
Yeah. We
It's-
It is very soft in a
We-
very pleasant way.
we cut out a little bit of the earthiness that was in the bottle I brought in last time was the very first batch.
And
That
it
was-
didn't last long on my shelf, by the way. At home.
Yeah, it was still a great gin.
Not
We were very
surprised.
happy with it, but we were just tweaking a little bit to get it to where it is today. So Meridian Gin is a floral forward gin. Floral gins are really tough to make well because floral botanicals spoil when they're on heat. Just like a dying bouquet of flowers on your counter, that vegetal smell that comes off. That'll happen about halfway into a distillation. So to economically make a batch of floral gin, you got to get creative with how you treat the floral botanicals. So it took us 6 months to figure out how to distill this. But hibiscus, chamomile, rosemary, they're used as the predominant aroma and flavor, and we use juniper and coriander to support them.
So I think it's one of the reasons I like your gin so much because I'm just not the hugest fan of the flavor of juniper. And so some of the gins that I try are so juniper predominant that it's like I
Juniper
appreciate
forward
it,
is-
but it's not something I really look for, you know?
Juniper
Right.
forward is very classic gin. Like
Right.
when you get a lot of the with Tanqueray and,
Right.
and gins like that, they're very, very much.
Well, are there a lot of people
Boodles.
who drink gin straight?
It's growing. It's
yeah?
growing really fast. I mean, gin in general is like 7% of the alcohol market. It's a sliver. By comparison, vodka is like 35%. So it's a very small segment of the market, but it is growing every year.
Well, and obviously
mainly
gin,
because of cocktails.
Yeah.
People like Chris Morris are doing
Sure.
great things with gin.
and gin and tonic is like one of the most popular cocktails in the
There's
world.
a song about it.
There is, and you know what else? There's a song about, and it's what I've never actually had one, and I really want to try one because I love the song, is Slow Gin Fizz. That's such a great. I don't know if you've heard the song. It's Jack White and Loretta Lynn, and it's awesome.
I've had one in New Orleans.
You've had a Slow Gin Fizz? Yeah. Would I like it?
Oh, it's fantastic.
Yeah, they're very good. You'd like it.
All right, cool.
It takes a lot of shaking.
Yeah. I just love the name. I think it's
A
one of
gin
the,
fizz needs to be shaken for like 8 minutes. Is that right?
I'm not sure.
That
I'm the wrong
doesn't-
person
You
to
have to
ask them that.
shake it for like 8 minutes.
One thing that will become clear today is I am not a cocktail.
Oh, okay, fair enough.
So-
I know how to make the spirit. I don't know anything beyond
with
that.
a gin fizz, one of the ingredients is egg white,
Yep.
Right.
and
right.
so you have to shake it to what do they call emulsify it? Is that what they call
Yeah.
it?
I know you have to
fluff it up.
shake it vigorously is the word they
Yes.
usually say. Yeah.
So would you say that you shake it like a Polaroid picture?
Yes, but for like 8 minutes.
Okay, that would be. That would, it
So-
would suck.
so
if you
like
had
listening to
do
that song twice.
It would suck if you had to shake your Polaroid picture 8 minutes. That's not good at all. Well, this honestly, this is delicious, which is not why I just spilled some of mine, but it really is delicious, and it's probably one of my favorite gins that I've ever tasted
Wow, thank
because
you.
really hit my palate the right way for gin. The way you've got those other flavors a little more predominant than the juniper, so it really works for me.
Well, I think you nailed it too. If any of you out there listening, if you like the idea of some different gin drinks, but you don't really like that juniper punch, and it's really kind of a punch, and it's kind of a pine coney kind of a punch. I mean, it's juniper. If you want something that's a little less of that turpentine or pine coney flavor, this is really soft and floral, and it's got a little sweetness, kind of that crosses the palate, and it's really soft on the palate as well. And we're just drinking it neat.
Right,
You
right.
know.
Yeah.
And so a cocktail, you're going to get all kinds of other, sensations out of it based
Right.
on what the other things in the cocktail are doing. Now, this next one, I noticed the bottle's marked Commemorative and Discovery Series.
Yep.
But this next one is a barrel-rested gin. So is this becoming a bigger trend in gin?
I want it to because
Yeah.
it's you'll taste it. It's really neat flavor profile. But what you're getting with barrel rested gins is you're taking. Typically, gin drinkers aren't also whiskey drinkers. There's it's even a sliver of the sliver.
It's kind of a divide
Yeah.
there, isn't there? Yeah.
A lot of whiskey drinkers will try gins and experiment a little
very
bit in there.
specialized set of skills.
Yeah, so barrel rested gins are niche within a niche. It's really tough to send them out to store
So
shelves.
it was funny because when you were on here before, I mentioned barrel rested gins, and you said you had one in a mix. And so when you connected with me and said that you had one ready, that's when I was like, yeah, let's do a
Yeah.
show. Let's talk about it.
Well, this says the
Let's get
floral
that on there.
delicacy of Meridian Gin, complemented perfectly with the refined whiskey, is an experience unlike any other. Very well written, by the way.
Oh, thanks.
Explore the possibilities when they come together with exact intent. So you guys really do this well in terms of what you put on the bottle. If I'm picking this up in the store, I'm intrigued.
Yeah.
I'm interested. So I am intrigued and interested, but I have a feeling you've as usual gone ahead to clear the way, Ian.
You know how women. Have you ever seen that skit? I can't remember who does it. It's talking about how women pick out cards at Walgreens.
I don't know if I
and
know
how
this.
they sit and look at the card and they read all the pretty words and they, is that the right card? And they put it back. And anyway, it's a pretty funny skit. I can't remember for the life of me who does it. It's like Jim Gaffigan or one of those guys, and it's a hilarious skit. But it makes me think about you standing in an aisle reading these, and this is what you look like when you're reading, the back of the whiskey and the.
Yeah, sure,
and the
absolutely. That would be me. That would be me. By the way, why is buying greeting cards so damned infuriating? I go in there. I want a card that just says something simple like "thank you" or maybe a graduation card or just a plain birthday card. And all I find is stuff like, congratulations, Grandpa, on your third bar mitzvah. Like, it's so weirdly detailed. Like, who needs that card?
Cards
And
that
it's
look
all
like
that
they're
you
going to be
find.
funny
Yeah.
or
yeah.
sentimental inside, and then the sentimental ones end up being funny.
So
and
I
things
wind up
pop out.
I wind up with a card that's blank inside and a picture of a cat on the front because I can't, I can't think of anything else, But seriously, it's like, why are greeting cards so weird?
Smoking and toast and covering the tough, difficult topics.
And then, by the way, you get that card to the checkout, and you discover it's like $8.99. Are you kidding me?
Silly.
Why is this card so expensive? I have no idea. But anyway, I digress, as I normally do.
Can we blame Putin?
I think we should. We're going to blame him for beer prices, and we're going to blame him for
Greeting
the
cards.
infuriating situation when it comes to greeting cards. I mean, come on. The guy's name is Putin. Let's just stop right there. Thank you. Good night. That's your exiting joke, you know?
People don't always pay attention to names. I mean, Bernie Madoff.
Yeah, come on. Yeah, exactly.
I mean, come on, really?
You are right. Ooh.
Yeah, I was waiting for you to try
I
that.
just took my first sip. That's really interesting.
So that's at 100 proof too.
So it's as interesting as the writing made it sound. It's so at 100 proof. So is that what these would sell for? I'm sorry. Is that what these would have in the stores? 100 proof?
Yeah, they're all at 100 proof. We barreled it at 106 and tried it at barrel proof 100, 95, and 90. And what we found was as it gets diluted, the oak becomes more forward. And so neat, we wanted it to have a balance. But whenever you use it in a cocktail, which we'll try a little bit later, and it gets diluted down a little bit, the oak becomes more prominent.
I love the oak in this, though.
This
it's
is
just so good.
This is really good and neat. Like just like this. This is super nice. And you don't have the softness like you had in the regular gin, but it's replaced with a sweet and oaky and you get some of that caramel notes. You get and there's a little cinnamon kind of note to it. There's a lot of things that you would get in a whiskey going on in this gin, and then on top of that, it's flowery in the best way.
Right, in the best way. Not too icky flowery, but more just that very pleasant. And then it has just the slightest hint of a gin and whiskey hug.
Is that coriander in there?
There is coriander in Meridian, but it plays more of a background role.
Yeah, there's a little something on the very aftertaste.
Yes.
It's kind of woody, like coriander can be kind of woody and kind of dry, but it's just there for a little kiss. The heat on this is very present, but also in a very, very gentle and nice way. It's not a smack you around kind of heat. It is, like you said, a warm hug.
But it is there. It is a warm whiskey and gin hug, which is kind of like getting hugged by two people at the same time, and it's a little awkward, but still very pleasant. That's how I would. That's
the best way. That's going into my description notes.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah.
That is.
It's like,
I am going to use that.
And you're like, is this just friendly or is something else going on? What's happening?
And now I'm picturing his words on the back of your bottle and him standing in the specs aisle with a teardrop coming down.
Oh, totally. I would totally be like the American Indian in the "Don't Mess with Texas Trash" commercial. That would be me.
I remember that.
Yeah, it's been a long time. If you remember that, you're officially old, by the way. That hasn't been on the air for a long time.
That was a powerful image.
It was. Stuck with you, didn't it? This is very, very good.
Thank you.
It's now my favorite gin. I'll just say it.
The lingering aftertaste on this gin is absolutely wonderful.
You ready for me to blow your mind? Cream soda.
Okay.
You are totally right. You are totally right. I wouldn't have said it, but you were totally right.
Someone came in the distillery tour.
I can get it.
And they tasted that, and they went, cream soda. And I'm like, that answers everything.
I can almost say, too, once you said that, I can almost say, too, that that in the retrohale right after you swallow, in the retrohale right after you swallow, there might almost be a slight amount like a bubble gum kind of thing going on.
Yeah, the bubble gum's largely from the hibiscus chamomile combo meal. When it comes off the still, it smells like bubble.
Oh, does it really?
Yeah, it's amazing.
That's
well,
awesome.
This is really good. What does that sell for?
That is $37.99 at the distillery.
Amazing. And you said it's a little weird trying to ship this out to stores for shelf space. Can we find this?
Only at the distillery. So the rectangular labels, the Discovery Series offerings are only at the distillery. We do like one-off batches.
And then these more shaped ones are what we can find.
Yeah,
in the
you can
stores.
find those at Specs, Total Wine. Well, in Houston, Specs primarily, and Total Wine's out in Austin are carrying them.
Okay. This is really good. It's really
What
good.
does the bottle Meridian sell for?
At Specs, $31.
Okay, and then so it's still less than 40 for the for the barrel rest.
Yep.
Well, and I'll just say this is a very affordable, handcrafted, grain to glass spirit. I mean, you can maybe buy cheaper gin, but you're not going to get this experience. And you can buy a lot more expensive gin and not get this experience. And that's probably the real key. I mean, this definitely, price to quality, you would score very high.
If you're a gin drinker and you're a fan of the usual suspects, this is going to be a great something else to try, like to get a different idea of what gin can be. If you are avoiding gin because of the usual suspects and that very juniper forward kind of flavor to it, then this is a great one to try because again, this is not that.
Absolutely.
And that was rested for 2.5 months on yellow rose barrels. So everything's
Nice.
100% Houston.
I love that beer. Oh no, I'm sorry. You're talking about Yellow
I
Rose.
do love that
whiskey.
beer, but I'm
Yes,
using Yellow Rose
sorry.
Distillery.
I get it confused myself. I just had a Lone Pint Yellow Rose beer this week, and
Yeah.
was
Can't
just
go wrong with that.
reminded of how great it is. But yeah, Yellow Rose makes some very good
And
whiskey.
Jabberwocky and oh man.
Yeah.
Gentleman's relish.
Yes. They
right.
don't do anything wrong there.
All right. Not at the distillery, that's for sure.
They also have a tornado shark, right? Is it?
Yeah.
So they had. I was playing at the distillery with the country band,
That's right. You were
and
you did play
and they had
at
the Gentleman's
Lone
Relish
Pint.
on nitro there,
Ooh.
and that was about 9 kinds of good. Yeah, it was
Yeah.
nice with the small bubbles.
Are they still making Ghost Pepper Stout?
I don't know. I haven't
I've
seen that.
a bottle of it in the store, but I don't know whether it's left over from a limited release or
Yeah.
whether they have still made it. But yeah, they don't do a lot of different styles of beer, but when they do, it's usually pretty good. Except for the one, it's a leaf blower. I'm trying to ignore it. But once again, the leaf blower has found me. I don't know how it happens. It's a curse. I'm pretty sure it's a curse.
hilarious.
No, I was just going to say that they do a lot of beers, and their brewmaster is one of the only people who's ever come on this show and brought something that he wasn't really proud of. Remember that?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. He brought a beer, and Ian and I are tasting it, and we're like, okay, and we're trying to find nice ways to be diplomatic, but not be disingenuous, right? And
And he looks at us and goes, "Yeah, I didn't like that one either."
I love it.
It was a great moment. It really was. And I was like, I love this guy. I love this guy. And I do love their beer. All right, we got to take a break. We're going to sample some beer. It's time to get into this. And I hope this doesn't throw off our... I'm glad we did just the gin this time, because I don't know what this Rojo Big Red Berliner Weiss is going to do to our
Palates are going to be wrecked.
Yeah. So we're going to try that, and
palate
then
wrecker.
we'll also get into some cocktails coming up. It is Smoking and Toastin', show number 272. We'll be right back. Welcome back. It is Smokin' and Toastin'. This program's all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. And I love that sound. It's one of the greatest sounds in the world, really.
Yeah, you
it
can't beat
really is just wonderful. A craft brewer in Ukraine has stopped making craft beer for the moment to join the war effort. Instead, he's making cocktails at his brewery, Molotov cocktails.
Oh,
I'm not kidding you. The owner of Pravda, the beer in Lviv, in Ukraine, has produced almost 400 Molotov cocktails so far, which comes as many Ukrainians are dropping their day jobs to fight Russian forces across the country. The brewery...
does anyone see the irony in that?
Yeah,
I was going to say,
sure.
Molotov cocktails, is that a Russian thing?
I think it is.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's the-
I think it is.
It's amazing.
It's a brewery that opened in 2014, and they usually make a range of craft beers, a number of apparently very popular IPAs. But owner Yuri Zastavny, I think I'm getting that name right, Yuri Zastavny says they are now supporting the war effort. They started manufacturing the makeshift petrol bombs 3 days ago, and they sent them out to the roadblocks, and he says, we have never left the resistance. So cheers to him.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's great.
Wow for the story, or did you taste the Rojo?
No, wow for the story. That's
Yeah.
like
It's kind of cool, I think.
that's crazy.
It really is.
This
So
is
let's
the
see-
world we live in.
Yeah. And let's see.
I got to tell you, I'm not a fan of the nose on this.
Well-
it smells a little dirty sock.
It It does give you a little big red on the nose, though.
I'm not getting a big red, huh?
Yeah, I'd definitely get
But see,
sour beer.
I'm not
I
a
get
fan of
sour,
big red.
and that's not unattractive, but there's a little dirty sock to it.
The palate's very nice, though.
Okay, it's good.
It's very
Yeah.
good.
Like, it tastes good.
It's not dirty sock on the palate.
No, not at all. The nose is a touch off-putting at first, but now, like, once it's on, and it keeps going.
I guess it's got the sweetness from the soda, maybe?
It drinks like a soda, like a
It kinda does.
lightly
Yeah.
carbonated soda.
Absolutely, it does. It's got that kind of viscosity to
I was expecting like
liquid.
Sour Patch Kids.
Have you
Right.
ever had
Me too.
one of those Jarritos sodas? You know, the Mexican sodas.
I know what you're talking about, but I have not had one.
It's
It's what it reminds you of?
it's not as sweet as that, but it's kind of like it. This is actually really good.
I'm going to admit that I'm a little surprised. I kind of thought we would not wind up liking this. But
I
hadn't
don't
tasted
know that it
so.
tastes like it doesn't. Maybe it has some of that big red flavor to it, but it has kind of its own unique thing going on.
What does
Yeah.
it say on the can, and what's the ABV?
It says a lot on the can. we'll get there in a second. Give me a moment here. Let's see. ABVs. I don't see any ABVs on
Maybe
here.
they don't tell us. I'm wondering. It feels pretty light.
Or the
but-
stickers over it. I'm not
Yeah, it
sure.
could
I'm
be.
sure we could look that up real quick. Or ask OnStark about the ABV on ISLLA Street, Isla Street, Rojo. It
lived in
says
San Antonio. I don't
Ricardo
remember
Pena
Isla
came
Street.
to America
Don't
with a
know.
dream of prosperity for his siblings and his parents. After serving in the U.S. Army, he settled in South Texas, where he began his family and planted his roots. Grandpa shared his love of culture and flavors from home with us from the front porch of his little blue house. His garden and his cooking helped evoke comfort and create memories. Today, Isla Street Brewing Company creates an innovative and culturally rich small batch craft beer, drawing flavors and influences from unique fruits and spices tied to our culture, history, and contemporary influences. I don't think what he says on here is specifically for the Rojo. I think
Yeah.
that's
It's a general, yeah.
This is oddly good though. I'm liking this.
It's
I've
kind of
actually
mind
drained
blowing.
mine.
The
I'm so surprised.
the nose and the palate don't like they're different languages,
And that does happen.
yeah.
That does happen.
Oh, yeah,
Fascinating.
I mean they are speaking completely different. The more I drink it, the more I get a little bit of that bubblegummy sweetness
The
to
big
it.
ready vibe. Yeah, it'd be interesting. Would be interesting to know if they use actual Big Red, or if they use some other soda, because it does say it's brewed with soda.
Bless you.
Excuse me,
Bless
guys.
you.
Yeah, I like this. I could crush this. I kind of feel like I should be pouring it out of a pitcher, though. You know,
Yeah, I know. It would be a great summer beer. Yeah,
Yeah.
give us a picture of that Rojo.
because and it's a Berliner style ale, so it's got a little bit of sour. Oh, it does say on there. It says way down in tiny 5.5%.
That's actually a little more than I was expecting, to be honest.
And so it's a Berliner style, so it's got a little tiny bit of tart to it, but
It is
it's
more
not
tart.
a lot.
It's more tart than sour, though. I'll say that.
Yeah,
I mean,
definitely.
It definitely doesn't drink like a sour. Yeah,
So
fascinating.
that's really
Well,
good.
that's really good stuff. All right, we got to take a break. We're going to be back with another segment here, and in this segment, we're going to talk cocktails as well as another beer. This time, it's the Deftones Phantom Bride IPA from Belching Beaver Brewery. So I'm looking forward to this. I'm really excited. I like the Deftones.
Belching Beaver is a great brewery
Yeah,
name.
and we'll be right back. It's Smoking and Toasting.
Awesome.
I love that sound. Welcome back. It's Smoking and Toasting. We are here in the studio today with Sean Enger from Fox and Seeker is our special guest. Want to say, by the way, a big thank you to our special guest from last week's show, Austin Millspaugh from Spirit Investment Partners and Heaven's Door Whiskey.
Yeah, that was
we had
awesome.
some good whiskey last week. It was absolutely wonderful. So while Ian's pouring some beers, let me tell you about some cigars to watch for. We like to keep you updated on new releases that may be coming soon to a tobacco shop near you. Ernesto Perez Carrillo is always working on new cigar blends.
EPC.
And his latest creation contains Honduran tobacco which is a leaf he hasn't used in 14 years.
Really?
Yeah, yeah. The Ipa Carrillo Short Run Retro 2022 Maduro has shipped this week. It has Honduran tobacco as a part of the filler, and it was 2008 when he used his Honduran tobacco last, which was the La Gloria Cubana Artesanos de Miami. Was that cigar?
I remember that Miami. Yeah, it was a great cigar.
Perez Carrillo sometimes makes, he says, 3 or 4 blends a week. He says that blending cigars is like, it's like being a pro athlete or an accomplished musician. You need to do it constantly to keep yourself in the zone, keep the muscle memory, keep the brain memory moving the way it's supposed to. But it was a few months ago he lit up something that he really liked, something he thought was a winner, but that he couldn't make in enough quantity for a regular production brand. And the result of that is the Ipa Carrillo Short Run Retro 2022 Maduro. I got to get one of these. This just sounds really interesting to me. And the Honduran leaf is where that whole blend started. Speaking of leaf, Aganorsa leaf has unleashed a new version of its Guardian of the Farm brand called Cerberus, the beast of Greek mythology, you may know. It's an all-Nicaraguan cigar, and it's serving as a showcase for their Corojo 2012 cover leaf that was grown in the Jalapa region. The new smoke is in cigar shops now. It's a new Guardian of the Farm, and dogs, as you know, are kind of central to the theme of the wrappers and stuff in this. This time they turned to classic Greek myth, because Cerberus was the 3-headed hound that guarded the gates of hell. So, anyway, Guardian of the Farm is a Nicaraguan Puro. The Cerberus and all the tobacco is grown on Aganorsa's farm. So, I'd be looking for that. There's a Toro, a Lonsdale, and a Robusto, and they are all in the $9 to $10.50 range for retail. And for the first time in the brand's long history, a non-Cuban Partagas will be available in the barber pole format, the striped format that runs down the side of the cigar, rolled with 2 contrasting wrappers. It's called Partagas Añejo. I love the sounds, by the way. The sounds are so good. Partagas Añejo, the cigars are made with a dark Cameroon wrapper and a lighter leaf of Connecticut shade to create that striking barber pole effect. It's from a 1998 harvest, the tobacco, and the Connecticut shade cover leaf was grown in 2013. The word añejo just translates to old in Spanish. So under the vintage wrappers are a Dominican binder and filler from Mexico and the DR, and it is just now landing in retailers in 2 sizes, a Petite Robusto and the Esplendido, which is 4.5 by 60. So look for Partagas Añejo. They are planning this to be a seasonal release, so if it works,
have you tried this beer?
I have not yet. This is the Deftones Hazy IPA. Does it say hazy? I don't think it says hazy on the can, but it looks a little hazy.
Nope, it just says IPA.
Deftones IPA.
This is the Deftones Phantom Bride India Pale Ale, 7.1.
Let me just
volume.
say, I love it on the nose. It has that sort of classic floral IPA note to it on the nose. And that's just a favorite of mine.
All right, now they did list the ingredients on here.
Okay.
There's no rice.
That's good to know.
The ingredients are water, malt, hops, and yeast. Ooh. I already finished my first glass of it.
That is really
It's
good.
outstanding.
That is really, really good. That's almost like Ghost in the Machine.
Yeah,
good.
it's like particularly badass.
Wow.
I have to agree.
Belching
Named
Beaver.
after the ethereal song by one and only Deftones, Phantom Bride IPA is a blend of Amarillo, Citra, Simcoe, and Mosaic hops, delicately balanced for the perfect drinkable mix. I have to say, they freaking nailed it.
Well, they did. And I'll just say, Amarillo and Mosaic, they're 2 great hops, but I have had some beers that are hopped with that where they're just out of control. They just totally take over the beer, and not necessarily it's an interesting way. It makes the beer interesting to drink, but it doesn't make me want another one.
No, Belching
This makes me
Beaver.
want another one.
Belching Beaver has made an IPA that is instantaneously up there with the best of Stone, the best of
Yes.
Two Hearted Ale, the best of
And the best of Parish.
Parish. This is outstanding.
This-
Really
is.
unbelievably good.
To me, falls in the category of like classic IPA or classic pale ale.
Right. It's not too. It's got a little bit of the characteristics of a hazy or a
Right.
juicy, but only a little. It doesn't really
just a
fall into
touch.
that category.
There's a little fruitiness to it.
right.
But it's not distracting fruitiness. It still tastes like beer. It still drinks like beer. It's not a weird mouthfeel or anything like some of those hazies can be. A true original Deftones / Belching Beaver collaboration envisioned by Chino Moreno and skillfully crafted by Thomas Peters. Sit back, put on your headphones, and drink away. Cheers, Nathan.
By the way, Chino Moreno is officially the coolest name in rock and roll. That's just a fun name to say, you know? A fun name to say.
The can, the label on this can is
That's
it's
also
got the
classic.
It's got the Beaver Day of the Dead skull.
I just love that.
Absolutely killer.
So big thumbs up for this. This is something we're all loving. Yeah,
yeah, they're having fun. This beer is outstanding.
It's very good.
This is one I will definitely be going to find.
And let me just point something out. I'm the IPA guy. Ian is not necessarily the world's biggest fan of IPAs. So when he's raving about one like this,
this is rave worthy.
It's rave worthy.
This is
I agree.
Absolutely fantastic. I'm not even a Deftones fan, really.
Yeah.
But this is
I kind of put
absolutely
this
fantastic.
between like a Sierra Nevada pale ale and like a hazy, like in the middle.
It's kind of in the middle. You're absolutely right. Sierra Nevada Pale Ale is just that classic
you can't go wrong with
flavor,
that.
and it's one of those things that I kind of stumble back onto every once in a while and go, why don't I drink this all the time? It's just so good. Well, absolutely love it. Cheers to Belching Beaver. That was fantastic.
Yeah, Belching Beaver nailed it on this. This is literally like jumps right up to the list of like some of the best IPA.
Did you get that here in Houston?
I did, yes. In fact, that can came from HEB.
That can't you can always tell because
Oh, yeah. There you go.
Yep. My wife brought that home.
yeah, actually, this is an IPA that if I see it in the multi-pack, I assume this will probably come in 4s or 6s.
I'm thinking 4s, yeah.
Probably 4 is
Yeah.
a 7.1,
it's 7%,
but
yeah.
I will definitely be buying this and crushing this as long as it's available. I
Sure.
wonder if this is going to be I wonder if
limited
this is going to
release?
be a limited release or if it's going to be a core
I
line
don't
thing.
know, but we're going to have to look
I mean,
that
as
up.
good as this is,
Because if it's limited, we got to stock up.
if it's limited, we got to talk them out of that.
Yeah, right. Absolutely.
Holy cow.
Absolutely. Well, it might not be because a lot of times when they team up with a band, they're going to do something
Yeah.
Who'd
ongoing.
have freaking thought the Deftones would have one of the best band
I
collab
know.
beers in
Seriously.
existence?
Seriously, that's pretty awesome.
Are there other bands and celebrities doing beers? Like it's very popular
There
in
are
spirits.
some. Yeah, there are
So
some. It is
Iron Maiden-
more popular in spirits, but Iron Maiden
does
AC/DC.
a collab with Robertsons, and they actually have a few beers.
Okay.
And then, of course, there was the what's it called with Hops.
Yeah, that's the Hanson brothers.
The Hanson brothers had Hops. That was out of Oklahoma.
That's
But
great.
you know what one is really good is the AC/DC.
The
beers.
AC/DC ones were good, right?
yeah.
Yeah, the AC/DC collab with I'm
the guys out
blanking.
of California. I know. I
They
can't
were so
believe I'm
good,
forgetting.
too.
And we had them on the show via Skype, and they sent us the beers.
Yeah, they were so
we're
awesome.
We're just
That's
sitting there drinking, and I loved their brewmaster because he reminded me of Jerry on The Walking Dead. You ever seen The Walking Dead?
Yeah.
So you know
It's
who
been a
Jerry
while.
is, right?
It's been a
Jerry's like everybody's favorite character because he's just this big jolly guy with the beard, and that's who the brewmaster reminded me. But let's talk cocktails now. What have you made for us here?
So it doesn't have a name. So
I love
we're-
the
we're-
look of it.
It's
just that-
actually a modified version of the last word. So in the bartending community, that's a very popular go-to cocktail.
last
It's called
word?
the last
Yeah.
word, but this is a modified version.
Yeah, it's heavily modified, I'd say. Last word is equal parts gin, cherry liqueur, green chartreuse, and lime juice. This is just gin, cherry liqueur, and lime juice, topped
Right.
with Topo Chico.
So this is now officially called My 2 Cents.
There you go. I love it. So this is my 2 cents.
Oh, it
This
smells
actually
great.
This would have been
Tastes
great
better.
right after Rojo because it's
Yeah.
kind of falls in the same.
All right.
It's got the lime to add a nice like
Wow,
sour
that's
tartness.
really good.
This was made with Meridian, the unaged one. And
Right.
the next two we're gonna do are gonna be with the bourbon barrel aged one.
This Rojo stinks. It smells so bad.
Yeah, and then
it
it's
tastes
so
so
delicious.
good,
Yeah.
but it does not smell good.
Let me just say, this is you absolutely nailed the tartness on this. It's perfectly tart. Any less, it wouldn't be quite as good. Any more, it would be a little sour.
Those actually
perfect.
go so well together.
Yeah.
It's hard. Like after I took a sip of the Rojo, and then it's hard to tell where one stops and the other one
and
starts.
that's what, when I was drinking that, I'm like, holy cow, this is perfect. And,
Yeah.
And then we threw that awesome beer in the middle. I'm like, well, It's all right.
Is there anything left?
Yeah,
in
yeah.
there?
I just took a tiny little, just enough
give
to
me
have
enough to taste. Yep, that's it.
just enough to taste.
But this is a great, it's warming up, porch weather. You can kind of sit outside. This is a great, what I call like rocking chair type cocktail.
Yeah, this is what a gin cocktail is supposed to taste like.
Yeah.
I think it just.
And we'll get not the next. The next one's also very refreshing with the Bourbon Barrel Meridian.
I'm not trying to be a snob or anything about this, but I really kind of want this in one of those skinny, tall glasses with a bunch of
With a pinky holder.
with a bunch of ice in it.
with that really small crushed ice.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yes,
The
totally.
glass is like this big around, but it's like this tall.
Like you might get it
Yeah.
at a tiki bar.
yeah.
Yeah, with a little umbrella.
Like
in the
that's
top.
what this-
Collins glass, I think.
Yeah, Tom Collins.
Yeah.
That's what I was trying to think of. Thank
Yep.
you. That would be perfect in a Tom Collins glass.
Yeah, this is great. You can have this is without ice, but you can put this on ice real
yeah,
easily.
it'd be great. It'd be great. I love this. I got to learn how to make this because this can be a new,
super
a new
simple.
cocktail at my house.
I'll send all these recipes.
Oh,
This
Okay,
is
you're
a
the
this
man.
is one of those dangerous drinks that you could slam back so quick.
Yep.
Like
So-
you could never serve this with a straw.
Yeah.
Because if you gave this to me, like if you gave me like a tall glass of this with a straw, I'd be like, "Can I have some more?" You'd be like, "I just handed that to you."
Yeah. I just want to mention, I've been trying to expand my cocktail repertoire, right? Because I make, really good martinis. I make great margaritas. But every time I try something else new, maybe. So I wanted to learn how to do a mojito. And I really have kind of nailed the mojito. But it's too sweet to drink all the time. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
True.
it's too sugary. You can't just go, oh, let's just have
This
mojitos.
is-
It's more like a special occasion.
This is a bit like a mojito without the mint.
Right, but this doesn't have quite that same vibe to it. You don't feel like you're sucking down a whole bunch of sugar, you know?
Yeah.
So Wiki Brian does it again. He points out Phantom of the Bride 6-pack 16-ounce for $12.62 at Specs.
Dude, that's good.
Yeah, I'm totally there.
That's
I'm totally
so
buying it.
good.
That is a fantastic beer.
And that's a good price for
Brian, you would probably not like this. It
12.62.
is an IPA, but it is a great IPA.
$12.62 is the price. Are you kidding me?
That's
For a
there's
That's a good
6-pack.
deal.
that's 6 packs of
16
12-ounce cans can cost that much.
Yeah.
A 4-pack of the odd side. What was that?
I bought another
yeah.
4-pack of
Yeah,
that. It was
that's like
$26.
That's like $26.
Yeah, I bought
For
another
the small
4-pack of that,
cans.
by the way. So I
And
have
worth
5
it.
cans of it now.
And worth it, by the way. Absolutely worth it.
So,
It's so good.
if we were rating like you rate cigars, I would put that around an 8, 9
yeah, this
easily.
is
totally.
pretty much as good as an IPA
For that
gets.
price point, you
But
can't.
yeah, I
That's
was going to say
insane.
because I've bought IPAs before. They were quite good, but they were way expensive compared to this.
I'm totally bringing this to my brew club just to blow their mind.
Yeah, they'll like it.
Just for them, just for everyone around the table to just have a big WTF above their head.
That's a meme I'd love to see. Your brew club with WTF over everybody's head.
That's actually what we look like most of the time.
That's why the meme would
Some
work.
of them are WTF, some are just question marks.
All right, this is great. Seriously, I really want this recipe. I want to master this cocktail because I love it.
4 ingredients, super easy.
Absolutely love it. All right, we're going to take a break. We'll be right back. In our next segment, not only will we be doing more cocktails, but we will also, my friends, be bringing you a little something called Smokin' and Toastin's drinking news.
There it is.
We're very excited about that. What? You know, yeah, totally.
In the beginning.
Welcome back into Smoking and Toastin'. This is the program that's all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. Nice
All
to have you
good
guys.
things.
Nice to have you guys here. Yeah, we just talk about stuff we like. That's it. Sean Anger is our special guest from Fox and Seeker. That was just an amazing cocktail. I just have to say, I'm going to be trying to make that tonight.
That's super good.
Plan. So absolutely like it. We love that sound too. Thank you for that. All right, ladies and gentlemen, this portion of the program, I hate to build this up because sometimes the stories are, sometimes they're just stupid people doing stupid things, and sometimes they're really funny, and I never kind of know which they're going to be until I read them out loud and see if you laugh. So we'll see how this goes. But ladies and gentlemen, it is time for what has become the most popular feature on this program, a little something we like to call Drinking News.
Drinking news, drinking news. Now it's time for drinking news, drinking news, drinking news. Now it's time for drinking news. A Florida man with one arm said he had a gator for a pet. When asked about his absent arm, he said,
I had to take the gator to the vet.
drinking news, drinking news. Now it's time for drinking news.
Cheers, y'all. And welcome to Drinking News. An Arizona man had a serious hold my beer and watch this moment recently, which illustrates a problem that I believe has gripped our society and threatens to crush it in its steely grasp.
Can I go ahead and point out that when you tell somebody to hold your beer, like there's always this impending doom that creeps up my spine.
Totally.
No matter what I'm doing, even though I'm just putting on my jacket, I'm like, what is about that? I got a scorpion on my jacket or something. What's going on?
Well, this hold my beer moment, I think, illustrates a real societal problem that we have in our country and perhaps all over the world today. It's the problem of kids' birthday parties.
Oh.
Now, I know I'm going to sound like an old you kids get off my lawn guy when I say this, but kids' birthday parties have gotten completely out of hand. I went to one for my granddaughter not long ago when she turned 2. Yes, 2 years old. Not 7, not 12, not sweet 16, 2. She will not only not ever remember the party when she grows up. I remember nothing when I was 2 years old. Do you? No?
Yeah,
I don't remember.
no, not that I know of.
The party was themed, it was color coordinated, and it was over the top in every single way. And again, it's not like it was her sweet 16. She was turning 2. And she lost interest even in opening the lavish mountain of presents when one of them turned out to be one of those books that have the buttons and make sound effects.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, we lost her at that point. She loved that, and she was no longer interested.
My favorite part is you go out and spend $50 on a present. They tear it, the parents help them tear it open, and then they just play with the box.
Right, exactly. It happens. But I digress. Kids' birthday parties have become another one of those things where I think that the parents kind of get into competition with the other parents to see who can throw their kid the most lavish bash. Cake and family and a few friends and some presents are all you really need. Maybe some, decent beer on ice for the adults. That's it. You don't need to book Ariana Grande to perform at your kid's birthday party.
I was waiting for you to change the words when you were going to say when parents see who can throw their kid the furthest.
You don't need Ariana Grande to perform. You don't need to hire an out-of-work actor in a dinosaur costume. And for God's sake, don't hire a freaking clown. Please, I beg you. That's an idea that is just too hideous for words. Your kid could be scarred for life. I've already written numerous letters to my congressman to ask him to introduce a bill that would make hiring a clown for a kid's birthday party a felony offense punishable by serious time in prison.
Look, if you are going to hire a clown, just hire the creepiest clown you can find. Just go that far.
Just don't do it. Just don't do it. I'm sorry, Mr. Snuggles, but I'm all about protecting the kids. I just got to say, that's important. So when the Arizona man threw a birthday party for his son recently, he must have been feeling that maybe his entertainment wasn't quite up to par with what the neighbors had produced for their kids' birthday parties. The Smiths next door who hired a troupe of juggling acrobats for the kid when he turned 5. So 48-year-old Victor Pratt of Coolidge, Arizona, was looking for a way to spice up his kid's party when one of the children found a snake in the yard. It was a rattlesnake.
That will spice up a party.
Not uncommon in Arizona, by the way. Rattlesnakes are plentiful. So instead of taking the kids and, taking them inside and dispensing of the snake, Pratt decided to entertain the children by showing them how to handle one of the scaly varmints.
Hot damn, look at that rattlesnake.
When I saw when the kids saw it, I grabbed it, Pratt says. I showed them how to catch it, and I was playing with it like little kids do. What little kids play with a rattlesnake? Who is he talking about?
All right, hold on. I live in Texas.
Yeah.
There's rattlesnakes.
Oh, yeah, there are.
And you will see them.
Yeah.
Like, you will. They might be in your yard. They might be on the trail.
Yeah, but you
will see them.
At some point, somewhere.
Don't play with them.
Yeah, no, absolutely not. And, of course, this poses the natural question. When he says, I showed him how to catch it and I was playing with it like little kids do, this poses the natural question, what could possibly go wrong?
Could possibly.
According to Fox 10, after posing for several photos, Pratt lost his grip on the snake's head,
no.
and the reptile bit him on the neck and the face.
Oh.
What makes this story even more perfect for drinking news is it apparently wasn't the first time that Pratt had been bitten by a rattler. Because he was a snake bite veteran, he at least had the presence of mind.
When he gets to the emergency room, like, hey, Mr. Pratt.
He's got the
Brenda.
platinum card.
How big was this
Hi,
one?
Tom. How you doing?
He's a rewards member.
Yeah, am I going to get rewards?
It's like you remember Home Improvement show
Yeah.
when he'd go to the emergency room, they
Yeah.
all knew him, they were all
Yeah,
good
like,
friends.
hey. Yeah, exactly. Oh, well, because he was a snake bite veteran, he at least had the presence of mind to ask his friends to rush him to the hospital. I said, we got to go now because I knew what was going to happen, Pratt said. He was intubated and sedated for 5 days.
Oh, my gosh.
Had Pat not gotten to the hospital when he did, he could have been dead within 30 minutes, according to doctors. So, ain't going to play with snakes no more, Pratt says. He claims he doesn't remember anything from his time under sedation, not even when he was moved from Coolidge to a bigger facility in Phoenix, according to USA Today. Doctors say that that kind of memory loss is actually common in people being treated for venomous snake bites because the drugs that they use to keep the victim sedated, they kind of prevent the brain from forming memories.
It apparently makes you forget to not play with rattlesnakes.
Yeah. So with no more snakes, Pratt may have to resort to other ideas for the next birthday party. We have not confirmed what he has in mind, but we wouldn't be surprised to find, lawn dart tournament,
Lawn darts.
hand grenade toss, and pin the tail on the scorpion to be fairly high on his list. But at least he didn't hire a clown. Reporting from Coolidge, Arizona, my name is Cruze, and that is your...
Drinking news. And that's our time for drinking news.
Cheers, y'all.
Let's have a cocktail.
Yeah, let's do. I'm going to take just a little sip of this.
Snakes.
That's wild.
Yes, it is. So our guest is Sean Anger from Fox and Seeker. Your stuff is pretty widely available in the Houston area. How far outside of Houston do you go?
Widely available in Houston and Austin primarily.
Okay.
You can find us select locations in Dallas and Corpus Christi also.
Well, I got to tell you, this is worth, if you live somewhere else, this is worth taking a trip to Houston and going to the distillery to get, because this is magnificent stuff. That's the barrel-rested gin that we tried earlier. Now, you mentioned that the first cocktail we had, which I loved, was made with the regular Meridian Gin, and this one is made with the barrel-rested, right? The Discovery Series?
Yeah, and this one will blow your mind, I think.
So what did you make here?
So the mixologists that are watching are gonna cringe when I say this, but it's a margarita.
Oh.
But it's not a margarita. There's no tequila in it. This is a margarita where this is in place.
Our live video has ended.
Oh. When did it happen? Do we know?
Don't know.
Adam will check it out, and we'll try to figure it out. But we're still doing the show, so...
Sorry. Yeah.
Says we're still live?
Okay,
Maybe
sorry.
yours ended, so I try to restart it again. Anyway, we... so this is basically... The recipe is a margarita
Correct.
recipe.
Yep.
But instead of using tequila, you're using this...
the barrel-rested
gin. Okay.
Yeah, this recipe came from one of our biggest fans up in Kingwood.
Oh.
He
I know that guy.
yeah, Mr. Mike, we'll call him.
Okay.
Mr. Mike threw this recipe together one night for a bunch of friends, and he texted me. I'm like, "There's no way this works. Like,
Yeah?
there's no way like that a barrel-rested gin works in a margarita recipe." And it just works. I don't know what it is, but yeah, it's
But it smells a bit like a margarita, although I can pick up just a little more of a floral note than maybe your typical tequila margarita.
Yeah, and what's weird is like the vanilla and the oak pop out in this a little bit, just a tiny bit. It's just really interesting. But it's this barrel-rested Meridian, lime juice, simple syrup, and Cointreau.
That's really quite good.
Shaken on ice, poured over ice.
It is. It almost takes on a like a margarita fruit punch vibe, doesn't it?
It like brings out a little underneath the the very citrusy flavor brings out a little like a vanilla kind of sweetness
And
underneath it.
does something on the upper part of the palate that makes you go,
Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
a creamsicle almost.
Uh-huh.
It's really weird. But
Wow.
weird in a great
would,
way.
I never would have thought of it.
I mixed
It's
this for the
really-
first time last night.
So,
in
so if
beverage.
people wanting to try this at home and they have some of this, they can basically do their standard margarita recipe,
Yeah.
except instead of the tequila, you go with the barrel rested gin.
Yeah,
Is that right? Do you do anything else?
Pretty much, and there's multiple variations of margarita depending on how sweet or tart you want it. But yeah, essentially just swap this in for tequila, and there you go.
Now, I will say, when I make margaritas at home, and this has as much to do with my wife's taste in cocktails as anything, and my own, I should admit. But my margaritas are very tequila forward. Let's just say. If you
tequila.
if you look at a traditional margarita recipe, it'll tell you basically 1/4 tequila and 3/4 of either the mix if you're using a mix or everything else that you're using.
Right.
And I basically invert that. 3/4 tequila and the rest is the mix or whatever, the lime and whatever else I'm using. So, would that work with this, or would that
That's a
gin
great question.
overpower it? Do you think?
I mean, honestly, that's a great question. I don't know how it would play out in a different ratio. I was just amazed that this one worked. I did not think this would work in a margarita recipe.
Yeah.
And the fact that it does is incredible.
Absolutely,
I think it's something you can play with.
I see what you're doing over there. Are you? Oh, I know what you're
Oh,
doing.
there you go.
You're adding more of it to see if my theory holds. Shall we say gin?
Yeah, and I didn't go totally ridiculous. I just
But
added
you
a
only
splash.
had you only had a small bit
But
left.
I only have a
so,
small bit
yeah.
less, so I'm interested to see what the ratio does because that would probably put it at a. What did you use? A quarter
I
to.
used, 1 part gin to half part lime juice to quarter part simple syrup, quarter part Cointreau, or triple sec, or
So it's
orange
already
liqueur.
it's already a little spirit forward then, which
It's
is
not as good.
It's not as good. The balance is off, right?
Yeah, the balance is off. It's not as good.
Okay. Very
It's
interesting.
it's not bad, but it's not a good drink. Like
Well, this
that's-
is wonderfully balanced.
See, some people think, like, for instance, if your bartender just starts dumping more liquor in your drink, that your drink is going to be better. But that's not necessarily true. Like, I literally just put another splash into what I had here, and it doesn't make it better. It's still okay. It's still drinkable, but it's not better. The drink was actually better the way you made it.
Well, at 100 proof, the spirit punches through a lot sharper. So I can imagine the sharpness would overtake some of the citrus and the sugar. When
Yeah, but it brings out kind of an earthy thing that you don't want in the margarita.
Margaritas are not by nature earthy.
Yeah.
It's not what they're all about.
It does something weird with the lime in there. It just they don't blend as well. So it's a great drink. Before I did that, but to say your thing, I'd say stick on this one. Stick to the. Are you interested to see what it does? Yeah, it's
I want to know.
it's completely unbalanced. It's just it's interesting. And that's about what I did. And it's fantastic before I did that, and it's okay.
So I just want to mention, and we have one more cocktail that we're going to do in our goodbye segment.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, it's not as
No.
good.
Interesting. So you definitely got the balance right on this. You should totally put these recipes up on your website.
Yeah, we'll do. And we do have a section for recipes. I need to update it with these.
Yeah.
Or also send them to you guys. And you
Okay.
can-
Yes. Because I'll be making.
You can play with them.
I'll be making some of these tonight.
Yeah.
That's very interesting. Speaking of very interesting, Ian, I want to pass you this very, very tall, very, very tall can of beer that is in the Clown Shoes Kung Fu Ballet series. And this
So
is
of course it's in their Kung Fu Ballet series.
And this is something that I have a feeling this is going to be another palate shock here because we're going to go a completely different direction from the sort of bright and tangy stuff that we've been doing with these cocktails. And even the IPA was a bit bright and tangy. So I don't know what this is going to do to our palates, but I'm sure anxious to taste
Obviously, this is what you drink when you are an armored ninja riding a flying owl.
this. Well, that's good to know because
Because on the
That
front of this
situation
can,
can
there's
come
a
up at any
picture
time.
of an armored ninja
That's what you do after
riding
you
a
handle
flying
rattlesnakes,
owl.
that's exactly
Yeah.
right. Yeah, after you wrangle the rattlesnake,
Then you
that's what
jump
you do.
on the owls, yeah.
Do owls fight rattlesnakes? I don't I know
Great
that
question.
I know honey badgers do because I've seen the video. You've seen the honey badger video,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
I
at
love
this
the
point,
honey
that's
badger.
an old thing, but it's still kind of funny.
Adam, are you still done with drinks?
Yeah, I'm good.
All right. I hate that he's going to miss out on this, though, because this looks very interesting. So this is Clown Shoe's Flight to Bolivia. It's an old ale aged in Whistlepig rye Ex-Bordeaux barrels.
Oh, I'm going to tell you on the nose right away.
Yeah?
This is outstanding on the nose.
Yeah. Well, and again, it's going to be a bit of a palate shock, so we may
Are we going
may
to have
take
one of
us a
those
moment.
amazing beer days?
Well, and I'm going to be honest with you, Ian. I didn't know about today's beers. Like I didn't know,
Oh, it smells like
I didn't know how we were going to like these. So I'm excited.
dates and old
Yeah,
raisins and
dates and raisins are.
Oh boy,
That hits
it's
it on
got
the head.
it's got almost a barley wine thing going on the
oh
nose.
yeah, no, this smells.
And Clown Shoes very seldom disappoints. Now I will say
is
this:
really good.
when they do an IPA, it's huge. Like their IPAs just smack you in the face. When Clown Shoes does an IPA, so I'm really interested to see what this is like because they've done so many IPAs.
I hope you like raisins.
Yeah,
It's very
I like
good.
raisins.
How strong is this?
Wow,
What's the
about,
ABV?
I think it's about 11.
As I said, it does not drink like 11.
You were so right about raisins, Ian. It's
11%.
It's raisins on the front, and then you wait a moment, and it's raisins on the finish.
And then it's dark dried fruit too
Mm-hmm.
on the back end of it, like almost like in the best possible way, prune and apricot, and I still got a little of that lime from
There is a little apricot, but it is a total palate cleanse, though. I will say that.
Yeah, very different.
Oh, there's a fermented taste in there that I really enjoy too. That's
It's very malty too.
I went to my wife and I went to Belgium several years ago, pre-COVID, and we went to Cantillon, and they do a whole bunch of wild fermented barrel aged stuff. Their barrel storage area is all like original wood construction from like I don't know 1700,
Right.
1800. I mean,
Yeah.
but this smells like you're walking through that, like just very musty.
I love that. I
oaky,
love
like,
that.
Like that's where it takes me.
I love that. It reminds me of what a different smell, but how much I loved Ian when we were in Honduras and we walked through those curing barns. It was just such a wonderful
There
smell.
were so many different smells, though, depending on what portion of the process. But the biggest one, when you open the barn doors and you walk in, tea leaf was huge. Like tea leaf was very, very
like a
big.
slightly fermented tea
Yeah.
leaf. Yeah. Yeah.
So,
absolutely.
Chapter 5, Flight of Bolivia or Flight of Morocco, Master Clown Shoes was told. One place shelters an ancient Shaolin relic that will aid in the correction of the imbalances that have plagued them. The other place holds nothing but despair. Which is which? Here we see the master, a choice arrived at as he glides a recently acquired mythological owl on a momentous flight to South America.
I will say, by the way, this was not an inexpensive beer. I want to say it was around like 11 or 12.
Oh, I bet it
bucks.
was. I bet it was.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah, this is outstanding though. So, old ale aged in Whistlepig rye. So I think that's where
That's
the
what you're picking up,
spiciness,
the
because there's a
spice. Yep,
spicy at the end of the palate on this.
Well, it is all date and raisin, and then you get just a little of that spice.
For those of you listening, we've gotten cut off of
Yeah, I restarted the live stream because
YouTube, but we restarted the live stream. Okay, gotcha. So so if
So that was the Facebook live stream. So it got cut off. We restarted it. That kind of stuff happens.
we're back.
Yeah, yeah.
We're back. I love
since,
this.
Ever since they named themselves Meta, the whole thing's just gone completely to hell. It is what it is. Ian,
Dark.
I saw that you've already poured yourself a second.
Oh, this is my
cup of
second
this.
glass, and it was much more full than my first one.
But it took a few sips to get the margarita
Yes,
off.
yes.
Well,
and
it
that
didn't
happens.
jive well with the
Yeah.
margarita, with the lime and the
It
margarita.
tastes different now.
It
than
took a
did
minute,
And the
when
yeah.
margarita was wonderful, but yeah,
Yeah.
it was a very
They're
different.
they're on opposite ends.
Well, I'm
Very much.
digging this, guys. What do you think?
The dark flavors, the malty. This has that dark
Yeah, I mentioned the
German
malt,
Munich like style dry malty flavor that, and it's a little bitter too. But then it's got so much sweetness on top of that from.
There's very few beers for me that take me to a place. This one does it.
And,
right? Like
and that place is when you were in Europe, right?
Yeah,
It's
like,
amazing.
they're so unique that it just like it takes you somewhere else. I like your rating system. I would give this a 5. It's worth the money.
Worth the
It's
money.
an expensive beer, but worth it. Yes.
This is every bit like this is like Meridian or like some of those
We've all put our guts
right.
back
We're
up
all
for
like,
more.
give me more.
Yeah, well, that tells you.
This is like Meridian or like Brother Thelonious or like some of those just beers that are so good at what they do. This is definitely along those lines that are.
So this is an interesting show because we've not only had great spirits when we tried them neat, we've loved both of these cocktails, and we've raved about every beer.
Best show ever.
Yeah, well, that's I like the snaps.
Yeah.
That's like 2 snaps up with a twist.
I bet they cut the live stream after that.
Yeah, I think they probably
Everyone just stopped watching us.
Actually, I think we may have lost the live stream when I did my bad Bee Gees saying Nicaraguan pepper blast. I think that violated some sort of Facebook.
Bruce Starks says he'll never know what happened to the Arizona man. You're just gonna have to listen to the podcast.
Yeah, you're gonna have to
for
go
that
check
one.
out the. You have to check out the podcast or the.
Yeah, apparently it happened during drinking news.
Well, that tells you something about drinking news, now, doesn't it? Yeah.
We crashed the system. That's how awesome drinking news is.
It's. I think this one is worthy of going.
Did you
back.
like that ability of delusionment that
I felt.
I love it.
I felt very powerful.
This
actually.
beer is so good.
Yeah,
We
it
have
is.
this like all of today's beers were so weirdly good. Like the first one does not smell good,
but it
but
tastes
man,
delicious.
is it delicious. The second one is literally one of the best IPAs we've had.
Yep. And then we've got
That's the Belching Beaver Deftones Phantom Bride India Pale Ale.
and then
this
we went
third
all
one,
clown shoes on you.
you know when I like big ridiculous beers.
Yes. This is a big ridiculous beer,
And the can could also be used as a weapon.
which is also good. They should maybe our Ukrainian brewer should partner with Clown Shoes, and he could do beer and weapons by
That's
Get
right.
a few of
using
those
cans
owls.
this.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Well, this was great fun. We're going to take a break. When we come back for our final segment, we are going to do one more cocktail. So I'm very excited about this because you have totally delivered. And by the way, you prefaced all of this by saying that you were not like a cocktail guy. Your
That's
cocktails
right.
have been fantastic.
Yeah, absolutely.
They
All
really
of these
have.
are user suggestions.
Oh,
I'm just the
I love
executor.
it. I love
That's
it. And by the way, I love this shaker. I
The
have one just like it.
executioner?
Yeah.
Yeah, I had
But
I
in a
had a
good way.
smaller shaker that I used to use to make martinis and stuff, and the little strainer or whatever came out, so I had to throw it away. And I had this one sitting in the bar, so I started using it. And at first, I'm like, "Well, this is too big," and then I realized, no, it's not, because
Lots
the
of ice.
second martini. I can pour it out into a glass, set it in the fridge, and I don't have to go shake up another one when it's time for martini number 2. So
That's
this
a
is
pro
now,
tip
This
right
is
there.
now my
Yeah.
favorite shaker. I
Yep.
just mentioned that.
See, and I have the small one as well.
you
at
got
the
that
house.
little bitty one, which is so cool looking.
See, and I almost brought it because that's my martini kit.
Yeah.
basically, which I will randomly travel with. I almost brought it today.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this: metal shakers versus plastic ones. Do plastic ones
Metal.
just invalidate the whole process? Because
Metal.
the sound is different. It's a chukka chukka, whereas this is a whoosh, whoosh, whoosh.
So
It's more metal.
Yeah,
the best tip I ever received on shaking a cocktail is when you use metal, once it frosts over,
Yes.
it's kind of an indicator.
It's
Yeah.
that's when it's
Yeah.
time. Absolutely.
That's when you know if you're shaking something and it frosts over. That's cold,
Yeah.
Absolutely. All right, we're gonna
and that's
shake
why
up,
metal.
we're gonna shake up one more cocktail
That's why.
when we come back, and we'll be out of here shortly. But thank you for joining us for 272, our 272nd show,
We have made it
And my
just
second.
past the halfway point
and your second.
I'm almost
to
halfway.
300.
You're halfway to 5. All right, so this is a short segment, so we'll kind of go. Welcome back. It is Smoking and Toasting. We are so thrilled to be here with you and enjoying these cocktails and beers. And it has been not only a great spirit day, but a great beer day, too.
Man, every beer today
Yeah.
Like if you're talking about the taste, because the
Yeah.
smell of that first one is like feet. It's terrible, but it tastes good.
You
tasty.
never want feet to be your description of a smell or a taste, right? It's just not a thing.
Right.
It's not a thing. But no, it doesn't smell good, but it tastes delicious. So yeah, just like don't inhale when you lift the cup to your nose and enjoy the lovely taste of
Oh,
Rojo.
this has like this. I see this has.
Oh yeah. So I have this same one at
recipes
home,
on it.
and it has an outer shell with little holes in it. So when you twist it around, it shows you the ingredients and the amount for different cocktails that you might want to make. So
Yeah.
it's kind of a bartender's friend, I guess you might say,
Yep.
Nice.
or my
Yeah,
friend.
everything I made today was the most average kitchen tools. that
Yeah,
you can
okay.
get. Yeah. Walk down the Kroger aisle.
Well, you make great stuff, though. I mean, honestly, I haven't tasted this last one here, but those have been very, very good.
I'm just saying, at some point in time, we're going to have somebody on here, and they're going to bring an ice hammer, and I'm going to be happy.
An ice hammer?
Yeah, you know.
Chip off the ice for every cocktail.
Let's do some tasting here. What have you made here?
So what this is
I see a bottle of vermouth, so I'm instantly
It smells so
curious.
lemony.
This is called a Martinez. So
Martinez,
the
okay.
Martinez is arguably
Is that racist?
the original. Well, what's funny is we call this one the Eddie because our friend Eddie Martinez loves his cocktail.
yeah.
We call it the Eddie.
Okay.
So this is Eddie's favorite cocktail. We call it the Eddie.
You're right about lemon on the nose, though. I do
Yeah.
pick that up, but there's something richer and deeper there too.
Oh.
So suppose the theory is, or myth is, and there's cocktail experts that know more about this than me, but this may have been the original Martini recipe. They called it the Martinez, and then it got transitioned to what we know
Martini,
as
yeah.
the current gin Martini.
It got Italianicized to martini.
So this is bourbon barrel aged
Oh.
Meridian, sweet vermouth, cherry
Definitely
liqueur.
taste
Did
the
you
vermouth.
like
And
squeeze
bitters.
the oil on top of that?
Yep.
Yeah, because it's like all over my lips just with one sip.
Yeah,
It's
the
really
oil was on
delicious.
top.
Really delicious. And by the
That's
way, the
crazy.
Martinez to Martini, that was Frank Sinatra's doing. Just so you know. Frank was the
I
man.
told you it was
Frank
Italianicized.
was the man. Yeah, I tell
Not
you.
italicized,
He
but
goes, "From now on,
Italianicized.
We're going to call it the Martini. And he was Frank, so everybody said, okay.
So
Yep. Yeah.
I
we'll
just
do
want
it.
to point out that when you express that on top of this, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's interesting because I took one sip and instantaneously my lips were coated with that the zest of that lemon, and it's such a wonderful thing. It's like that feeling when you have the really good tasting lip gloss or
I've never used lip gloss.
chapstick. Yeah, I said lip gloss, but you know what I mean, chapstick or whatever.
Yeah.
Lip balm,
Lip balm.
and it has that nice aroma to it that's just sitting under your nose. Now it's like that.
No, that's exactly the role the lemon
Don't judge me for
plays
using
in
lip
this.
gloss.
Hey, if it didn't have glitter in it, we're cool.
I have big lips. It's nice to like highlight them.
Listen, I remember growing up as a kid.
I think I just broke our.
I think you did.
guest.
Yeah, I think you did. I remember growing up as a kid, going to church, and there was this song they sang in church called "There Is a Balm in Gilead," and I was like, "What do they have? Chapped lips?" That's the only thing I could think of. I still to this day don't know what that means. But in any case, let's go back to the drink. This is really delicious.
Yeah,
This is ridiculous. This
it
is
has
fantastic.
a lot of character and flavor to it. Like it feels like there's things you're going to continue to
This
discover.
brings
as you
out
drink.
more of the caramely, darker side of that, and the oaky flavors. Like the oak flavors are like on the aftertaste are big like,
time.
big
Yeah.
and dry and delicious.
If you're to Google the Martinez cocktail, the recipe would call for just gin, regular gin. So using the bourbon barrel gin adds just another layer of depth to it.
Depth
Yep.
of flavor. Yeah, absolutely.
That's got to be interesting when you have a gin that is not like other gins.
Right.
And then you start trying to experiment with the recipes that are made to accentuate or decentuate the floral qualities of a standard gin and try and see exactly how they fit in. How did you go about this?
This was another fan suggestion.
You're like, I don't
Yeah.
go about this. I outsource.
Yeah.
This was
Outsourcing to fans though is a good idea.
Yes,
Yeah,
absolutely.
The
Yeah, it
creation
really is.
of
Yeah.
Alan and Paula, friends of ours from Jersey Village, they love this bourbon barrel Meridian. They played with it, and they suggested this recipe, and it was just incredible.
No,
So,
this is a knockout right
Yeah.
here.
Well, here's to the experimenters.
Yes.
Here's to the people that take these spirits and go, you know what? Let's try XYZ. Because sometimes it probably doesn't work out. But in this case, what were their names?
Alan and Paula.
Alan
Alan
and
and
Paula,
Paula.
you rocked it.
And
You
this is
rocked
the
it,
Eddie
yes.
for Eddie
Yeah.
Martinez.
The
Eddies.
Eddies. All right. Well, thank you very much, Sean, for being on the program. We appreciate it. We love your spirits. This one, the Meridian Gin, as well as your vodka, are pretty much widely available across the greater Houston and Austin areas. Can people... Is it possible? I don't know what the laws are. Can people order from you out of state on the internet?
Only if they can come pick it up.
Only if they can
Yeah,
come
we
pick it
can't. We can't ship anything.
Yeah, that's got to change.
It's frustrating.
Why would you not? You know, what's wrong with you putting a bottle of this, packing it safely in a box and sending it to somebody in
That's a
Oregon?
great question.
I can't see anything about that that's a bad thing.
Oh, because there are some distribution companies that won't get their cut of it.
Well,
That's
you can do it
what's
with beer
wrong.
and wine.
let me tell you how much I care
Wait,
about that.
wait, did I say that out loud?
Let me tell you how
I'm
much
sorry.
Tell you how much I care about that.
Notice how much
Not at
he's
all.
ignoring me at
Yeah,
this very
well,
moment.
but,
He's like,
I
I'm not
understand.
saying
confirm
I
nor
understand
deny.
there's-
anything about that.
We understand. We really do. And but we thank you very much for being on the show. On next week's program, Brandon Choate will be joining us, first-time guest. So we'll be freaking him out and blowing his mind once he sits down in the chair, as we generally do with first-time guests. But he is with 5 Points Distilling, so we're looking forward
Nice.
to
Nice.
looking forward to that. And then
I'm going to tell him that it's standard issue for him to have to actually sing along with the drinking news song. So I'll put the words in front of him.
pretty like.
I'm like, if
like a
you
little-
listen to our show before, you know this.
Put it on a music stand. Yeah, everybody does this. It's a rite of passage. So, and then on the 17th, which is 2 weeks away, that is actually St. Patrick's Day. We're working on something
so
special.
excited.
Working on something special. If that doesn't happen, we'll be doing an Irish whiskey blind taste test. But if it does, it'll be even cooler and more
All
Irish.
right. Well, I'm going to see how fast you can drink a Guinness on that day, too.
Sounds good. Sounds good. And then I'm so excited about this on the 24th, which is 4 weeks from today. Docs will be joining us, our good friend
Greg
Dexakis.
He's
and
amazing.
He'll be bringing Michael Garfield on the show. With
I can't
So
wait. The high-tech Texan.
How great is that going to be? So, so we're looking for. It's always great when Docs comes on the show, and he is our favorite rum guy. He's absolutely awesome. So, anyway, thank you so much, Sean, for
Thank you for
and
having me.
congratulations on how good. And let me just say how affordable your spirits are.
Thank you.
That is very impressive because I could see you going out there with these as, $50, $60 bottles, and you'd probably sell them. But
Appreciate
the
that.
fact that you're doing what you're doing at the price point you're doing it, I think is awesome and honorable. And we encourage you people to check these spirits out.
Well, we do have bourbon in barrels.
And when does that
They
come?
may come
Ooh.
out of the barrels this year. So,
Okay, well, but,
since we're grain to glass, it just takes time.
put us on your calendar.
Yeah, and that's tough because you open a company and you're like, I'm going to make this, but it takes years to
Right,
make it.
right.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's tough.
that's what vodka and gin. You can get into those spirits immediately, so that's a good thing. Do you have something to pass on?
I was just going to point out, OnStark said that the balm in Gilead is a reference from the Old Testament, but the lyrics of the spiritual refer to the New Testament concept of salvation through Jesus Christ.
I'm so impressed with Bruce Stark because it doesn't matter how odd or obscure the references that we throw him, he goes there and he
He's-
figures it out.
He is the man. He is. Well, that's OnStark.
That's
Yep,
on Stark. Sean, thank you again. Thank you for making such wonderful cocktails, and thank
Dang
you for
it. Now I'm going to have to pour
distilling-
myself some more of this clown shoes.
distilling such
I was saying, there
wonderful.
might
stuff.
still be some in the
Is there?
shaker.
Oh, that was good too. So let me use.
Yeah, we don't want to disappoint you. Ian.
Oh,
Have a wonderful week, my friends. Thanks to Adam on the Wheels of Steel, Mary, who takes care of all the booking, and Ian, my friend.
amazing.
Another fun time.
You guys rock. Today was an amazing day for drinks.
It really was.
Thank you, Sean.
And
Cheers,
that
y'all.
means it was a good show. I'm just going to say it. Have a great week, my friends. Cheers, y'all.
Sunshine so good to you.
You're the gin martini guy.
I'm the vodka martini guy, yeah.
Whatever happened, don't leave it so soon.